Welcome to another episode of the Unicorns podcast. I'm your host, Justin Kelly, and today's feature company is a new business out of Brisbane called Tea Industries. You might have heard about this startup business, which now has its range of healthy drinks in school canteens, on supermarket shelves, and in service stations right across the country. The company is making headlines for all the right reasons. It's led by a young entrepreneur, Alexa Stathakis, who has broken the mold on growth hacking a business. You're not going to believe how she actually did it. I'll give you a clue. It's 2 letters, AI. Alexa, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Justin, for having me.
So let's go back to the beginning. You have an idea for a business. What happens next?
So, I guess, starting from the beginning, my partner was crazy into keto, and I was, I guess on and off with him. I've always been a huge focus on health. Health and fitness has been a huge part of my life. Always been really mindful of what I'm eating and consuming. But, during that period when we were in stores, we couldn't find anything that actually was keto friendly. So, turning around what may seem healthy, when you actually read the labels, isn't. And when things don't have sugar in them, they also have a lot of harmful artificial sweeteners. So from that stage, it was, hang on a second, there actually is a gap in the market there. But just because you think that there's a gap, you need to explore that a little bit more and see if other people feel the same way. So I started doing quite a lot of market research, called a bunch of different schools, service stations, gyms, and just asked around, hey, is this something that you would be interested in? Would you like to purchase it or stock it? And so the response was amazing. So many different locations said, yes, this is actually something that we're looking at. So one of those big things was obviously high schools. So Australia's currently been cracking down on what schools should and should not consume, which I think is a great, great thing. And so they were looking for healthier alternatives to stock for their students. And fun fact, I mean, Queensland actually has the strictest, if not one of the strictest health regulations in the world for schools, which is incredible. So yeah, after that, I was like, hang on a second, there's a market here. There's a bunch of locations that actively want to buy, so let's go for it.
But
Um,
you don't have a product yet.
Well, yeah, I suppose, I suppose during that market research, it's like, what do people want? What are they looking for? And started doing some product development. So during that phase, we found an amazing factory that helped us produce. We could go back and forth and remove things. So we kept doing taste testers to really ensure that it not only tastes nice, but just doesn't have any of the nasties in it. So we use a natural plant-based sweetener, and we use 0.01%. So it's the tiniest little bit, and that really counterbalances the bitterness of the tea. So during this phase, we were doing market research, and at the same time going back and forth until we found the perfect range of products. So we ended up settling on 7 different drinks. So it's 5 teas and 2 aloe ranges. The aloes are awesome because they actually have real aloe pulp inside and added vitamin C.
So how did you actually go about getting the business started?
So, I mean, in terms of funding, it was fully self-funded, which was great. I mean, if you see a gap in the market, you kind of just got to take the risk and just jump in and go for it. And at that point, I'm incredibly motivated to call as many locations to see if they want to buy. So that was the initial phase, putting in the deposit, and then just calling. And I guess during that phase, it was saying, okay, I can see there's a market here. I can see we found a really great product. Now while the 76,000 bottles, which is what we originally started on, while that was actually being produced, I thought, how can I duplicate myself so that we can have more of me essentially on the phone talking to locations and seeing if they want to get it in. I've seen that works. I see that there is a demand. Let's just duplicate that. So yeah, I guess at that stage, that's when I started training different teams, tried the Philippines, tried Australia, and people just weren't converting at the rate I was. And each time that you training a different team member and trialing, and obviously at this stage, we're 100% self-funded. So cash flow is extremely low. It's seeing, okay, how can we think very fast paced and being quite innovative in what we're doing. So at that point, I ended up finding a team who was willing to do 100% commission based. And I thought, wow, that's incredibly rare to have a commission based sales team. Awesome. But even at that stage of being commission based, it was still huge time consuming. I was still sitting there training, training, training. People were taking sick leave. They weren't converting at the rate that I was. I knew that they could be converted. And it's just so frustrating. During that phase, nobody was really actively pushing it. So I was relying predominantly on repeat purchases. And so I thought, okay, well, how can I do this quickly? Because, we've got all of these bottles that we kind of need to sell. And so that's, I guess, where Sarah was born. It was really taking four different steps. So voice to text, text to voice, a dialer, a CRM system, and a really great script as well.
So, how did you actually do that? So, you've gone from your attempts at a human sales team, both overseas and then locally. You've got the product. It's not converting at a at the speed and scale that you would like. So, what was it that you thought? You know what? I'm gonna turn to AI to make this happen.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I have had so many numerous chats with my father over the years, all about AI and the latest technology. My partner Mitch is also massive into technology. We have huge debates a lot of the time on, like, I guess, where the future's going, ethically what happens. And you're at this period where AI is becoming more and more prevalent, and so it's kind of saying we can all see the future and what that looks like, and all of a sudden you actually on that wave of that future where you're on the forefront of what is inevitably going to be happening. So yeah, it's saying, okay, well, we can see AI in CRM systems, we can see AI in automating farms, we can see AI in even Grammarly utilizes AI, ChatGPT, language models. So there has to be something there. If a language model exists and you can literally type in there, anything, then that means that this is possible.
But there's a big step from punching in some prompts into a language model to replicating a human voice, getting it to dial, knowing who to ask for in the canteen, and then taking the order. So, can you shine a light, Alexa, on how you went about doing that?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually not as, I guess, complicated as it may seem. But, to be honest, I'm huge into sales. So when you're looking at that sales process, I'm really good at seeing, okay, what is that? How can you get past, you call them the gatekeepers? What words do you need to say? How can you close a sale? What does that look like? What does a conversion look like? When it comes to actually fully developing something that works really well, I can do that at a bare, not super amazing, but that's where I guess it's bringing in a team. And so we've got this amazing software developer. He's absolutely incredible. And so he's in house, and the two of us together have gone back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. He's been incredible in literally bringing the voice to text, text to voice, plugging in the dialer, and then essentially merging that with the CRM system. So you would essentially have all of these scheduled calls that you can literally upload any of the contacts in. And then from there, you've got that technology that kind of already exists. And then you're just putting it into a dialer that can make calls. In terms of a voice, there are so many voices online that you can have a look at. And so I guess the most challenging thing is editing and creating something that's Australian focused. So when you're looking at different voices, a lot of them are American based, and I think that was probably one of the hardest things is creating and developing and honing in on an Australian voice. It's actually very rare and quite unique.
And so, once you were happy with what you had created, what was it like when you first let Sarah loose into the world to go out and start making calls, and then seeing the reaction and the orders and the samples coming in?
Well, I guess in the beginning, it's going step by step. So it's trialing three calls. So it's first obviously going back and forth with myself saying, okay, no, this is not right. Fix this, let's fix this. And then it's going, okay, let's make three calls, listen to them. What does that look like? Make five calls, listen to them. What does that look like? But AI is very strange. Even though you can put in all the correct prompts, sometimes it just gets a bit weird. So, for example, during the initial stages, somebody had asked, what different flavors do you have? And although in the knowledge base we had placed all of these different flavors that we offer, it just randomly went in a completely different voice that we had not programmed in. um, like and it was just like, how did that even happen? But luckily that was, during the extremely tiny little test and adjust phases. So another one was just getting the email address correct. But once we had ironed out those kinks, and then we started to scale up, it wasn't as bad.
And talk us through, Alexa, some of the results, because they are quite extraordinary. You think about the number of hours it would take to physically call every single school in Australia. So what did Sarah achieve for you?
Being able to call at scale, to be able to, the average person can usually make anywhere from 50 to maybe 120 calls a day. They'll get tired, go for lunch, maybe not be as excited every time. So the first five calls are really exciting, and then after that, it kind of gets dreary. After that, you don't really want to come to work anymore because cold calling, let's face it, nobody likes it. It sucks. So it's actually very hard, even to find staff who want to cold call is incredibly difficult. And that's why a lot of companies outsource to the Philippines. So most of the time, if you get a cold call, a lot of time it doesn't come from Australia; it comes from overseas. So producing something that can not only make 100 calls, same thing, you're not paying for office space, you're not paying for management who has to manage the staff, you're not paying for recruitment agencies, all of those things that you don't really think about that tie into this. Now you can make 1,000 calls a day, you can make 5,000 calls a day. It's infinitely scalable, really.
And did anyone realize at the time that they were not talking to Sarah from Tea Industries in Brisbane, who just happened to be, who was not a human being, who happened to be a robot?
I think in the beginning it was during that part, trying to get the email addresses correct. Um, that phase, there may have been a few that were like, hang on a second, because when we repeated the email address, it was like, you know, is it abcd@gmail.com? And it's like, okay, that sounds a bit robotic. So getting the receiving that information or listening to it with different accents, I guess, was quite an important part. And then repeating it back, that sounded great. So during that phase, some people were like, hey, can I please speak to a real person, or is this a robot? And I think having Sarah and now Sam as well saying, yes, I am a robot, which is quite important, I suppose, to announce that. But now, I mean, nobody really knows, and I guess one has to always think about, with this becoming more and more prevalent, because I can see that there's a huge market for this, and it will only continue to grow. Once again, because nobody likes cold calling, and everything that goes into it is, for us, we're calling a company that is actively seeking a healthy product. So I think in that environment, it can be quite a beneficial thing. However, if you had to have, and there are legislation where you can't, cold calling legislation, even robocalling, is you have to announce that who you're calling from, the company you're calling from, and what are you selling? What's the point of the call? So, hi, I'm Sam. I'm calling from Tea Industries. We're a healthy drinks company. That seems to tickle the boxes. If I see a bot potentially calling random individuals at scale, that wouldn't be a good idea. And I would strongly advocate against that. Going through a business during business hours with a very targeted niche, I think, is a great idea. And, selling a great product that desperately is needed is important.
Now, I've got an example here of Sarah in action, so we might just play this to our listeners just so they can understand um, how good this actually sounds.
Hello, this is Tea Industries, Sarah speaking.
I'm from St Columba College in Andrews Farm. We received a parcel today, I believe from you guys, with some samples of your iced tea.
How did you find the samples?
I just wanted to ask some questions on the tea because they've sent us the samples, but we haven't received any information on pricing or where we actually purchase them from.
The price is $2.20 per bottle. You can resell them for $4.40 or even $4.50. You can place an order through Bidfood or the distributors. And if you're not sure who your distributor is, you can email us at sales@t.industries with your order and preferred distributor, and we can arrange the rest.
And is that including GST?
Yes, that price includes GST.
All right, beautiful. Lovely, thank you. And then we should be able to order them through Bidfood, you said?
Yes, you can order through Bidfood.
Okay, beautiful. No worries. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, Alexa, give us an example. So, you are now in, I mentioned it in my introduction, you're in school canteens, you've managed to get into IGA supermarkets, you're also in petrol stations. How big is this operation now?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's grown quite considerably. So we officially created the company on the 4th of July, 2024. Of yeah, so that's been quite cool. And yeah, since then it's really just grown. So we're in over 300 locations. We've got about 11 different distributors that are helping us move these products. As of next year, we will be in Sydney or New South Wales, Victoria, WA, and Queensland as well. One thing about Australia is it's such a beautiful country, but it is so massive. So be able to ship products from Queensland to WA, we've had such an amazing response, is incredibly costly. So in order for us to, I guess, allow the product distribution to continue at a great price that people can purchase it at, is to allow for different fulfillment centers or warehouses in each state, and then to be shipping it across accordingly. So, one thing I'm a huge advocate for, and I highly recommend anyone who's listening to this podcast to go and read the ingredients of whatever you are consuming. If you are drinking any sort of beverages, if you are eating any sort of packet of chips or anything that you kind of like to snack on, turn it around and read what is in there. If you see labels, for example, 155 coloring or even 102 coloring, it is heavily toxic. I mean, so back in the day, they had produced obviously a lot of coal and petroleum as well. They had this byproduct, and it's a very toxic, harmful byproduct. What do they do with it? Well, if you had to dispose of it, you have to ensure all this particular protocol. But there was a really intelligent chemist who managed to convert some of these harmful carcinogenic byproducts or toxins into color dye. So that's actually in a lot of different chocolate milks that you can find in many service stations. A lot of things that are colored yellow. I won't list any brand names, but if you're having any sort of gummies that are yellow or red, please have a look at what you're consuming. It can increase cancer rates. It can lead to hormonal disruptions, skin irritations, and so many other things, even dementia, onset of dementia. So this isn't just me randomly jumping up and saying it. It's banned in many countries around the world, many first world countries. So, the whole point of tea industries and producing a healthy drink is to look at raising awareness to what are you consuming. Everyone knows, eating too much sugar is harmful. Australia has a massive diabetic issue because, the huge amount of sugar consumption. Mind you, I know there's two different types of diabetes, one you're born with and one that is developed through diet. What are you consuming? What impact does it have on your body? Not even just over sugar consumption, it's also just the chemical components of that. So sorry I went a little bit off tangent there, but it's something that I'm so passionate about, and I would really just love people to have a look at that.
Do you have any future plans, Alexa, to broaden the product range? At the moment, it's, as you mentioned, it's iced tea, and there's an aloe product. What else is in the pipeline?
Well, stay tuned next year. We are bringing out a range of different cool alternatives. Some of them milk based, some of them not, that are smaller. I won't give away too much.
You're teasing us here, Alexa.
But it's looking at what is currently being stocked in primary schools, what is currently even being marketed as healthy flavored water when actually it's really not. Is looking at, can we provide something that is actually beneficial, that is not toxic, not carcinogenic, not banned.
Starting a business is never easy. It comes with a whole range of challenges. What have been some of the challenges that you have faced and are still facing as you try to grow tea industries?
Yeah, I suppose it comes as both exciting and nerve wracking. Is, a lot of the time you have two or three dominant players in the industry, and when I see such cool, exciting brands that pop out, for example, Liquid Death that sold water. Everyone thought, oh, water is such an oversaturated market. Most distributors don't make any money from selling water because it's just everywhere. But yet they came out are selling worth over $1 billion in a very short space of time, selling something that everybody has. But they're doing it in such a cool way, and they're raising awareness to the harmful impacts of plastic. Because most water bottles are single-use plastic. I mean, Coca-Cola, although they are aiding into a more healthy approach, um, you know, make up a huge portion of what's left on beaches and the like. So um, yeah, I guess it's looking at, in terms of challenges, how do you stand out in a dominated industry? And that can be a challenge, but it can also be your biggest asset to have something that's cool and funky and different. I love our packaging. It's so unique, designed by an artist that really makes it stand out and not just like a copy paste of what I think
The,
that the
the packaging is really cool. I love it. How did you go about selecting the design for this product? Because that's not easy either.
Yeah, I think when you have a look at different artists and see what sort of designs they make, most of them have a theme that they go for. And this guy particularly was very cool. I mean, his designs really stood out. They were funky, kind of like cartoon, almost. What are those like magazines? The cartoon magazines, the superhero, old school sort of stuff, and yeah, just definitely very very cool.
Speaking of raising your profile, you're currently raising capital, or you're in the market to raise capital. Tell us about that process, what you're after, and how investors who potentially are listening to this podcast might be able to get involved.
Of course. So, as any, I guess, company startup may know, once initial excitement is, wow, I'm getting all of this traction, I'm making all these sales, this is incredible. Then all of a sudden you realize, hang on a second, if I want to scale at the rate I want to scale, cash flow is always an issue, and so you can gradually start scaling, and that shouldn't be a problem. But if you really want to go big, and you have all of this influx of orders coming in, you need capital for inventory. So at the moment, it's inventory, inventory, inventory. So we're looking for investors during this initial stage to grow with us, provide any sort of advice. Obviously, we've got quite a young team here, and then helping us with this inventory to meet such a huge demand.
And any plans, Alexa, to ship the product overseas to become a truly international company? I know you're focused on the Australian market at the moment, but what do the future plans look like?
Yeah, 100%. So we're excited to be launching in the US next year in May. So that's when they come out of their winter period. Snow starts to melt and everyone's keen to get out in the sun. We've teamed up with some awesome social media giants who we're excited to announce very soon. So stay tuned. We won't give away too much. But yes, they will each be releasing their own flavors, which is going to be absolutely incredible. And we're excited to really, I guess, highlight to not only Australia, the US, and hopefully many other countries as well, to be mindful what you're consuming, reading the back of the ingredients that you're taking in every day. And I guess the more you do that, you notice the smallest little shifts and changes in how you're feeling. We're so focused in our minds of thinking and doing, which is amazing, but sitting back and noticing, you're not just a brain, you're also a body as well, and it's all interconnected. The mind brain gut connection is incredible. So that's all going to be extremely extremely exciting.
And for those that are listening and want to sample the product, want to try it, want to support you, where can I buy it? How do we get our hands on the product, Alexa?
Of course. course. So we are in many different IGAs all across Australia, along with numerous high schools and some service stations. So, I would definitely recommend going to your local service station or your local IGA, having a look in the fridge. If it's not there, have a chat to the person at the counter and request it in. We are always actively promoting and reaching out. So, yeah, or you can buy it online directly.
Buy it online directly, and it's tindustries.com.au. Is there an AU at the
No,
end?
it's just t.industries.
T.industries. And how big is a bottle, and what does it roughly retail for? I know it will probably vary from place to place, etc. But what does that look like?
Yeah, of course. So all of our drinks at the moment are 500 mils, and they usually retail at about $4.50, which is a great price. And yeah, there's 7 amazing flavors to choose from, and we found that's a great option for everyone to find their favorite flavor. So many people have been collecting the bottles. They love the look of them. So yeah, check them out, collect them, keep them.
Alexa, wonderful to catch up with you today. It's an incredible journey that you're on. I think the way you've gone about growing the business since inception is amazing. So we wish you well. Remember the name, folks, T Industries. You heard it here. Alexa will follow your progress with much interest and excitement, and good luck.
Thank you for having me.